Attention to the 2017 budget proposals presented by Mr. President to the joint session of the National Assembly yesterday. It's a 7.28 trillion naira budget, and the proposed budget represents an increase of about 19.95% over the 2016 appropriation of 6.07 trillion naira. Joining us to do justice to this is economic analyst Balazaka. Thank you very much for finding time to come today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, there's a lot of talk about implementation, budget implementation in the past, but then our attention is also drawn to how much or what percentage has been given to capital expenditure. In the 2017 budget proposal, we're looking at about just 30%, and even the executives seem to have applauded it as something well done. What's your opinion about this? Why is it taking us long to be able to spend more on capital expenditure in this part of the world?
Well, you see, 1,001 reasons can be given or adduced to things like this. But first of all, you know, when you started in your prologue, you said this budget is like probably about 20%, you know, higher than the
2016 appropriation.
Yes, 2016 appropriation. But what I can tell you is it may not necessarily be correct. And the reason is because there is currency and there is real currency.
That's right.
Most of the time when we make references or we do analysis like this, we relate it to the international currency that you use to carry out activities, and that's the dollars.
That's right. That's right.
All you need to do is to pick your calculator and ask yourself a basic or simple question. As at this time last year, what was the value of the naira to the dollar? Right. Look at the value of the budget then, and then just ask yourself, as at this time last year, how many Nigerian naira will fetch you $1 international dollar? Then once you do the conversion and you look at as of today, again, with the current budget, that a lot of people are saying is 70 or 20% higher. Check the exchange rate. How many Nigerian naira will give you an international or an American dollar, which is the major currency of exchange? From that point, you will agree with me that it's probably even lower.
That's right.
But that is not the issue. The simple question is this. First of all, what is a budget? A budget simply means future plan in monetary terms. Future plan of what you intend to do, then you monetize it. And once you monetize it, then you call it a budget. And the next question is going to be, how do I get to that point? Because it's a plan.
That's right.
When you have a plan, that means there must be a route to enable you achieve the objectives of your plan. And then that's then when you start asking, how do I get there? But because it is in monetary terms, you must get the money. So the question is, how do I get the money?
That's right.
Then you start asking, okay, what are my major sources of revenue? You know, and knowing the kind of country we have been, or we are as Nigerian, we know that we have always depended on an international commodity. Though we have so many international commodities, actually. You know, when you talk about international commodity, cocoa is an international commodity. Timber is an international commodity. Coffee is an international commodity. Oil is an international, gas, gold, you know.
Oil seems to be the most relevant.
So that's it. So you now ask, what's that commodity that I will always use to generate revenue or income?
That's right.
That will make me execute projects in the form of X, Y, Z. But as we know today, because we have a major commodity that has an international credibility and an international recognition, and beside that international credibility and recognition, it has qualities that makes it one of the best. Because when you look at the Nigerian crude oil, first of all, it's almost sulfur-free. That means once it's sulfur-free, you call it sweet crude. Right? Then it is very, very light. That means you can use it for so many things. And you use a technical term to describe how light it is in terms of what we call API gravity. Nigerian crude oil has high API gravity. Then when it comes to moving it even from the reservoirs to come to the surface again, for us to sell, it's so easy. You understand? You don't need to suffer to bring it. So that commodity that we have, either because we have been blessed by nature, is so good, is so sweet, is so light, and can be easily sold. So the question now is, you have something that will effectively help you generate the revenue. Then apart from that, then you have other ancillary areas where you can generate revenues. So you now talk about non-oil exports, you know, then you talk about your taxes, then you talk about other things. Then you also have other areas within the economy where if you generate sweet or conducive environment, right, you will grow the economy internally. And that is where the concept of gross domestic product or GDP comes in. So when you look at it, we started with the word future plan in monetary terms. And we are now seeing different areas, pockets of areas where you can actually create the revenues to make you generate or meet up with your budget, which simply means if you manage all this, which technically we said macroeconomic approaches, that means you probably may not even need to start thinking of somebody helping you with loans or you asking yourself to borrow. You know, so when you look at the totality like that, then you now begin to ask yourself serious questions, as people like you do. How have we even been managing or implementing previous plans?
That's right.
The monies or the incomes we were generating before, what have we done with them? Then, by the time as government in a country, all these things are lined up, to what extent have our citizens been improving in terms of growth and development? Because you can have growth without development. Growth simply means a shift in your position or size from what you were to what you are today. But development talks about quality. So if you look at it as Nigeria, we have probably been growing in terms of population. And that's why people, the quality is not there. So something is wrong with the development. And the reason why you ask, like you said, you do comparative analysis. And the reason why you always ask questions is because you want to know where you were before, why you were at that point, and where you are today. What are the differentials in terms of human development index now? So that is all the mechanisms that made us to grow. So you ask, how were the educational sectors last year? That's right. How are they today? How is the health situation last year? How many people got jobs last year? How many are in employment? Then you begin to ask. Then you begin to point out and you look at areas now. If you had made errors or mistakes, then the question is this: to what extent have we learned based on the 2016? And if we have made errors, can we avoid those potholes or lacunas?
Talking about making errors, I want us to quickly consider some of the parameters for the 2017 budget vis-a-vis the projected production of oil pegged at 2.2 million barrels per day. That's still far higher than what is experienced now, bearing in mind the unrest in the Niger Delta region of the country. The exchange rate is also put at 305 naira per dollar.
And that was what I was trying to compare. When you take it to real currency, the budget of this year, the one we are thinking is about
up to the 6.08 trillion naira.
Correct.
So we have the exchange rate at 305 naira per dollar. We have the projected production of oil at 2.2 million barrels, and then several other parameters. But taking those two, for instance, how realistic are they, you know, in this our current economy?
Look, one big or an unfortunate thing has been happening to this country or geographical entity called Nigeria. Nearly all the problems that have been bedeviling Nigeria are self-inflicted problems. They are self-created problems. And that is where Nigeria has been making mistakes till today. You see, it's worse when you are suffering from external negative calamities compared to when the problems are inflicted or self-created or self-manufactured by you. So if most of the problems that you are experiencing are self-inflicted, that means if you want to change, you can change. If you want to improve, you can improve. So to answer your questions directly, or your question directly, these projected oil productions, revenue targets are achievable.
Okay.
Because the factors that have been preventing or bedeviling Nigeria from achieving them are self-inflicted factors. They are not external aggressive factors. They are not natural calamities. They are self-inflicted injuries. And that simply means if your problems are internal, that means they are within you.
That's right.
To provide the solutions. So to answer your questions directly, it is possible under the condition, or if we predicate it under premise that we are willing to internally solve that problem that we self-created or self-inflicted, because it is within us. When you talk about calamities, especially natural disasters, you talk about tsunamis, you talk about earthquakes, you talk about tornadoes, and do you know you have no control over that? You talk about desert encroachment, you talk about global warming. Such natural disasters can wipe everything about your country's social and economic indices. But if the problem we have is you belong to party A, I belong to party B, and the problem is I no agree, and we decide to behead security agents, you know, if the problem we have is somebody didn't manage monetary or fiscal policies very well before you knew what was happening, people are losing jobs. That means they are self-inflicted injuries. And the problems we have is maybe you have oil installations and some people are saying, no, you must do this. And somebody is saying, no, we won't do it. Or somebody say, okay, we've done it. Then somebody amongst you decides to become an economic traitor or betrayer. So you find out all the nearly major, all the key problems that have been constituting a clog on the wheel of Nigeria's economic, social, and political problems are within us. So all that needs to happen is let us sit down on a round table. You understand? It's not a question of you win, I lose, or I win, you lose. It's a question of you win, I win, and Nigeria wins.
That's right. Well, let's quickly